He thought he was buying nothing more than a broken house for just $1. But the moment he stepped inside, he found something he never expected: a little girl, standing in the shadows, clutching a torn doll. And when she looked up at him, her trembling voice asked the question that froze him to his very soul: "Are you my new daddy?" From that moment on, nothing in his life would ever be the same. He had always been a man of simple dreams. After years of working tirelessly in the city, facing betrayal in business deals, and enduring loneliness that gnawed at his soul, he decided it was time to leave everything behind. The noise, the concrete, the endless rush, it had all become too heavy to bear. On an impulsive morning, fueled by a restless heart and a yearning for change, he stumbled upon an old listing: a house, barely standing, abandoned for decades, listed for just $1. $1. It sounded absurd, almost impossible, but when he saw the crumbling porch, the peeling paint, and the overgrown garden, something inside him stirred. There was a story hidden in its walls. He felt it, and in that moment, he knew he had to have it. The town surrounding the property was quiet, almost painfully so. A few scattered houses, a dusty main road, and the occasional barking dog punctuated the silence. He drove slowly, the gravel crunching under his tires, as if the earth itself was warning him about the life he was about to step into. When he arrived, the house looked even more decrepit up close. Windows were shattered, the roof sagged, and weeds had claimed the front yard. Yet for some inexplicable reason, he smiled. He saw potential, not ruin. A blank canvas for a new beginning, a chance to build something meaningful from nothing. He signed the papers, handed over a single dollar, and became the official owner. The absurdity of it all made him chuckle. $1 for a house. Some would say it was foolish, but he felt alive in a way he hadn't in years. The neighbors watched curiously, whispering to each other, their eyes following him as he stepped onto the porch. It had been a long time since anyone had lived here. Long enough that memories of the previous family lingered like ghosts. The first night, he explored the house with nothing but a flashlight. Dust hung in the air like a thick fog, and every step on the wooden floorboards sent up tiny clouds of history long forgotten. He imagined the people who once lived here, the laughter, the arguments, the quiet moments no one would ever record. And then, as he stood in the empty living room, he felt a presence, soft and hesitant, like a whisper brushing past his mind. The next morning, he stepped outside to survey the land. As he cleared the overgrowth, he noticed movement near the fence. A small figure, barely visible through the tall weeds, watched him. It was a little girl, no older than 7 or 8, with wide, curious eyes and hair that looked as messy as the yard. She didn't run away when she saw him, but neither did she approach. There was a caution in her gaze, a mixture of fear and hope that tugged at something deep inside him. He tried to speak gently. "Hello there. I just bought this house. Don't be afraid." The girl tilted her head, her eyes scanning him, as if measuring whether he was friend or foe. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Are you my new daddy?" He froze. His heart, which had been steady, suddenly skipped a beat. The question was so unexpected, so raw, that it pierced straight through him. He looked around, half expecting someone to reveal that this was a joke, a cruel prank. But the yard was empty except for the girl, the weeds, and the broken-down remnants of a life left behind. "No, I'm not your daddy," he said slowly, unsure what to say next. "But I am the new owner of this house." The girl's eyes shimmered with something he couldn't quite name: disappointment, longing, maybe a flicker of hope. She took a cautious step closer, clutching a small, tattered doll to her chest. "But you live here now?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, his voice gentle. "I live here now." For a moment, she just stared at him, then nodded slightly as if accepting the truth but not fully believing it. And then, without another word, she ran toward the back of the house and disappeared into the shadows. He spent the rest of the day unpacking supplies, cleaning, and trying to make the house safe. But he couldn't stop thinking about her. Who was she? Why was she here, alone? The questions clawed at him relentlessly. By evening, he decided he couldn't ignore her any longer. He found the girl sitting on the fallen porch steps, hugging her doll tightly. I don't have anywhere else to go," she whispered, her voice trembling. "My mommy, she's gone. My daddy, I don't know where he is." He knelt down beside her, careful not to startle her. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe here. You don't have to be alone." Tears welled up in her eyes, and she finally allowed herself to lean slightly against him. In that moment, he felt a surge of protectiveness, unlike anything he had ever experienced. This house, this absurd purchase, for $1, had suddenly become far more than just a property. It was a sanctuary, a chance to rewrite someone's story, maybe even his own. Over the next few days, he began to see the house differently. Every broken window, every creaking floorboard, every weed-choked corner became a challenge, a puzzle to solve. And the girl, shy but curious, started to linger around him more. She would watch him work, asking questions about the tools, the paint, the sounds of the house. Each question, each hesitant smile, drew him in further. He learned her name was Lily. She had been living with a distant relative who barely noticed her existence, surviving on scraps and loneliness. Her eyes told stories words could never convey, of fear, of longing, of a childhood stolen too soon. And every time she looked at him, the unspoken question lingered. Could he be the family she had been waiting for? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lily finally spoke again. Do you think I can stay here with you forever? Her words struck him like lightning. The weight of responsibility, the depth of trust, and the raw vulnerability of a child longing for love all converged in that single question. He looked at her, saw the hope shimmering in her eyes, and knew that the house for $1 had already given him a priceless gift, a chance to change a life, including his own. And as he nodded, promising her silently that she could stay, he realized something profound. This house, bought for almost nothing, had become the beginning of everything. A home, a family, a bond that neither of them had expected, but both desperately needed. In that moment, the walls of the house no longer felt empty. They echoed with the promise of laughter, of safety, of a future rebuilt from pain and loss. He didn't know how they would face the days ahead, the repairs, the town's curiosity, or the ghosts of the past. But he knew one thing. The little girl's question had awakened something inside him, something powerful and unshakable. And for the first time in years, he felt the stirrings of hope, of purpose, of a life finally worth living. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the broken windows, highlighting the dust particles dancing in the air. He woke to the sound of soft footsteps, tentative and careful. Lily was already awake, sitting on the floor with her doll pressed to her chest. Her eyes, wide and alert, seemed to measure him again, as if searching for a signal that he truly meant what he had silently promised the night before. Good morning, Lily, he said softly, walking over. Did you sleep okay? She nodded slowly but didn't speak. Instead, she handed him a small, crumpled piece of paper. He unfolded it and found a rough drawing of figures holding hands in front of a house, with the sun shining above. A smile tugged at his lips, but a lump formed in his throat. The innocence and longing captured in that simple sketch struck him more than any words could. As the days passed, he began restoring the house, room by room. Every nail he hammered, every plank he replaced, every layer of paint he brushed on, felt symbolic. He wasn't just fixing a house, he was repairing a life, and maybe even the pieces of his own shattered heart. And Lily became his constant companion, often sitting nearby with wide-eyed curiosity, asking questions about everything from the tools he used to the tiny details of life he had taken for granted. But the quiet happiness was fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a table. One afternoon, as he worked on the attic, he heard Lily's voice calling from below, urgent and trembling. He rushed down to find her standing at the threshold of the kitchen, holding something clutched tightly in her small hands. What is it, Lily? He asked, kneeling to meet her gaze. Her lips trembled, and she looked as though she might burst into tears. I found something, she whispered. In the walls, behind the wallpaper. There's a box. His heart skipped a beat. Hidden boxes often carried secrets, and secrets had a way of changing everything. Carefully, they peeled back the layers of wallpaper together. Inside the wall cavity, they discovered a small, dusty wooden box. It was heavy, locked with a rusty clasp, as if it had been waiting for decades to be opened. Asterisk. Lily handed it to him with shaking hands. Do you think it's important? He nodded, examining the box closely. Very important, I think. He pried it open, revealing its contents, old photographs, letters yellowed with age, and a small locket. As he sifted through the papers, he realized they were from the family who had once lived there, a story of love, loss, and sudden tragedy captured in ink and faded smiles. One photograph made him stop entirely. A little girl, no older than Lily, posed in front of the house. The resemblance was uncanny, almost too uncanny. He felt a chill run down his spine. Could this be more than coincidence? Could Lily's presence here be connected to the house in ways neither of them yet understood? He looked up at her, trying to read her expression. Lily's eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and hope, silently begging for answers she didn't even know how to ask. Do you Know who I am? She whispered, her voice trembling. He shook his head gently. No. But we'll figure it out together. I promise. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, he sat in the dimly lit living room, the box on the table before him. The letters told a story of a young couple who had lived there decades ago. Torn apart by unforeseen tragedy, their daughter, much like Lily, had been left behind, hidden away from the world for reasons that were both mysterious and heartbreaking. He traced his fingers over the letters, feeling the pain and longing of lives once lived, wondering if somehow fate had intertwined their stories. Over the next few weeks, their bond deepened in ways that surprised him. Lily began to trust him completely, laughing freely as they painted walls together, collecting firewood, and planting a small garden in the overgrown yard. Her presence filled the empty house with life, her laughter echoing through the rooms that had long been silent. And yet, beneath the joy, he felt the weight of unanswered questions pressing down. Who were her parents? Why had she been left alone? And why, out of all the possibilities in the world, had she appeared at this house the moment he became its owner? One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of gold and crimson, Lily approached him with a hesitant expression. I had a dream, she began, her small voice trembling, about this house, and a man who looked like you. He was kind, and he was supposed to take care of me. His chest tightened. Her words were not just innocent imagination. They felt like echoes of a past neither of them fully understood. He knelt beside her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. Lily, I'm here now, and I will take care of you, no matter what. Tears welled in her eyes, and she hugged him tightly. In that moment, the house ceased to be just a structure of wood and stone. It had become a sanctuary, a place where broken pieces could slowly mend. The walls seemed to breathe with the promise of protection, love, and the possibility of family. But just as hope began to settle, shadows from the past crept closer. Late one night, a knock echoed through the empty hallway. Startled, he opened the door to find a woman, her eyes red from crying, trembling as she held a small envelope in her hands. Are you the man who bought this house? She asked, her voice shaking. He nodded cautiously, wary of the sudden appearance of a stranger. This belongs to Lily, she said, handing him the envelope. She's my niece. Her parents, they're gone, and I couldn't take care of her. I didn't know what else to do. His heart pounded. The mystery of Lily's past was unraveling faster than he had imagined. And yet, the truth was only partially revealed. The envelope contained documents, letters, and photographs, all hinting at a family history tangled with tragedy, abandonment, and secrets that had remained hidden for years. He looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully in her bed upstairs, unaware of the storm about to hit her small world. And in that moment, he understood the magnitude of responsibility he had undertaken. The house for $1 had become more than a new beginning. It was a lifeline, a chance to protect and nurture a child who had known too much sorrow to. Soon, he knew that the coming days would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Questions about trust, family, and the fragile nature of love would arise, and he would have to be stronger than he had ever been. But one thing was certain, he could not, and would not, let Lily face the world alone again. And so, as he sat in the dim light, holding the envelope and gazing at the walls that had already begun to echo with the laughter of a child, he felt a sense of purpose unlike anything he had ever known. This house, bought for almost nothing, had become the stage for a story far greater than a simple dollar transaction. It was the beginning of a journey filled with love, discovery, and the kind of emotional bonds that could heal even the deepest wounds. And somewhere in the shadows of that quiet town, the past whispered its secrets, waiting for the right moment to reveal the full truth. A truth that would change both their lives forever. That night, sleep refused to come. He sat in the dim glow of a lantern, the envelope open before him, its contents spread across the table. Each letter, each photograph, painted a picture of loss too heavy for a child to bear. Lily's parents had died tragically in an accident, leaving her in the care of relatives who saw her as a burden. The aunt who brought the envelope had abandoned her, hoping someone else would shoulder the weight she couldn't carry. As dawn broke, he looked upstairs toward Lily's room, listening to the soft rhythm of her sleep, the thought of her waking to another day of uncertainty, another day of waiting for someone to love her, filled him with a fierce determination. She had asked if he was her new daddy, and though he hadn't known how to answer then, the truth had become undeniable. She wasn't just a child left behind, she was his chance at redemption, at building something lasting, at becoming the man he had always longed to be. When Lily came down that morning, her small feet tapping against the wooden stairs, she carried the same guarded hope in her eyes. She clutched her doll as if it were her shield against the world. He knelt to meet her, his hands steady, his voice calm but certain. "Lily," he said, "I know what happened to your parents. I know you've been hurt and left to wonder where you belong. But I want you to hear me now. You belong here. With me. If you'll let me, I'll be the father you've been waiting for." Her eyes widened, filling with tears that trembled on her lashes. For a moment, silence hung heavy between them, broken only by the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Then she dropped her doll and threw herself into his arms, clinging to him as if letting go would mean losing everything. "You mean it?" she whispered against his chest, her voice shaking. He held her tighter. "With all my heart." In that embrace, the house around them seemed to change. The broken windows, the cracked walls, the scars of neglect, all of it faded against the warmth of a bond that had been forged not by blood, but by love and choice. The dollar he had spent to by the house had given him something priceless, a family. Word spread quickly through the town. Some whispered about the man who bought a house for nothing and found himself raising a child not his own. Others shook their heads, calling it foolishness. But he didn't care. Every laugh from Lily, every moment she ran across the yard, every time she slipped her hand into his made the whispers meaningless. The house, once abandoned and lifeless, became filled with warmth. Flowers bloomed in the garden they planted together. Curtains swayed in open windows. And at night, when Lily prayed softly beside her bed, she no longer asked for someone to come find her. She thanked God for someone who already had. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, painting the sky in gold and crimson, Lily looked up at him with the same question that had started it all, but this time, her voice carried certainty instead of fear. "You're my daddy now, right?" He smiled, tears burning his eyes. "Yes, Lily. I'm your daddy, and I always will be." Her small hand slipped into his, and together they stood on the porch, watching the world bathe in light. The house may have cost only a single dollar, but the life it gave them was beyond measure. And in that quiet moment, as hope and love filled the air, he realized the truth. Sometimes the greatest treasures come from the smallest beginnings, and sometimes the question of a child can change a life forever. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs hope today. And make sure to subscribe so you never miss the powerful stories we bring to life every week. Your support means the world to us, and together we can keep spreading these unforgettable journeys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.